I'm going to walk you through the procedure of cuttings preparation for the nuclear magnetic resonance measurements, and there is a set of equipment required for the for preparation. First, there is a standard set of standard sieves for cutting separation by sizes. Then we will need a volume meter for measuring of the volume of the samples. Also, we will need the high precision scale for measuring the weight of the samples and brine. We will need the vacuum pump or air compressor for the vacuuming stage, and the desiccator where we're going to put the samples during vacuuming. We also need to prepare 2% brine solution that we will saturate samples with, and some other things, that Teflon tape, rubber bands, sample filters, and plastic jars where we're going to store the samples. And we will need 2 tables for recording our measurements. The first one is table 3.3 in the manual, and it's volume measuring table. And the second one is the weight measuring table, and it's equivalent to table 3.6 in the manual, and this one is used for the quality control. There are 2 stages in cuttings measurements. The first stage is reservoir or non-reservoir properties identification, and the second stage is reservoir properties identification. For the first stage, we will need to wash the samples and sieve them according to the sizes with the sieves, which are provided here, and I will show you the procedure how to do that. The sieving procedure is required to separate the cuttings by the sizes, and this is an example. And while we're doing it, we wash the samples and make sure all the Warhol fluid is washed off from that. And once the cuttings are clean, that completes the sieving procedure. After the sieving procedure is complete, we are measuring the weight of this vial. And record the number in the column 1 of the table 3.6, which says vial weight. Next, we put the sample into this vial. And we need to blow it with the air compressor. And now we are blowing the samples with air in order to remove the excessive water. And the procedure needs to be done for 30 or 40 seconds. Next, we are measuring the weight of the sample with vial, and record this weight in the same table, in the second column. Next, we subtract column 1 from column 2 in our table and record net cuttings weight in column 3. The second step is determination of the volume of the samples, and we perform it with a volume measurement device. And the first measurement that we make is with an empty vial, and here is the streaks, and we record the first measurement in the volume measurement table in the first column here. Next, we place our cuttings into the vial. connected to the volume measuring device. And record the second volume. The second volume measurement goes in the column 2 of the table, volume measurement table, and in order to get the cuttings volume, we subtract column 1 from column 2 and record it in the column 3. For the quality control purposes, we again blow the sample with air and measure its weight and record it in the column 5 of the weight measurement table and compare it to the column 2. And if the results are identical or very close enough, then we can use this for the NMR measurement. In order to perform stage 1 measurements, we need to put our sample in a plastic jar. And in case the measurement turns out to be the reservoir, we add some brine to the sample for the preservation. Wrap it with Teflon tape and mark the name of the sample. Now we have completed preparation for the stage 1 measurements, and we can proceed to the stage 2. After the stage 1 measurement is completed, we are ready to determine the petrophysical properties of the reservoir rocks, and that is completed during stage 2. Stage 2 requires the vacuuming procedures, and we put our sample into the filter in order to do that, and close it and put the rubber band on top. We put the sample into a desiccator, cover it with a top, and then we turn the valve connected to the vacuum pump, we turn it open, and the other valve we keep it closed. And we turn on the vacuum pump and let it run for one hour. After 1 hour has passed, we turn off the vacuum pump, turn off the valve that connects to the vacuum pump, put this into the brine solution and open the valve. And the water should rush into the desiccator, and we wait until it completely covers the sample. And after that, we remove the top and let the sample be saturated for 2 hours. After the saturation procedure is complete, we repeat the steps that we performed during the stage 1 preparation, which include blowing the samples with air, measuring the weight, measuring volume, again blowing the samples with air, and QCing the weight measurement. And after that, we need to add known volume of brine to the sample, which is the main difference between stage 1 and stage 2. So we put the sample in a plastic jar on a scale, zero it out, and add some brine so it covers the sample with thin film of brine. Next, we record the weight of the brine added, and from that measurement and knowing the brine density, we can compute the brine volume. And now the sample is complete for the stage 2 NMR measurements. The saturation procedure for the core plugs is similar to the cuttings, except that it takes longer time to saturate the plug with brine. The plug is preserved in a plastic jar filled with a brine solution, and it is taken out of brine. The plug is taken out of brine solution for the measurement, and excess fluid is removed from the surface of the core plug with filter paper that is wetted with 2% brine solution.